americano.
Welcome back. You're listening to the Cindy Laverty Show on CRN Digital Talk Radio, heard nationwide. My guest today is Greg Hanley from the SOBA Recovery Center. He is the CEO and founder. Greg, thanks so much for being here. Sorry we had to go to break so soon after you just got on.
That's okay.
What do you want parents to know right now? What do you want them to know?
Right now, if there was an immediate thing that I would want parents to know is they need to find out what's going on with their kids.
Okay.
I keep meeting these parents that are finding out too late that the drug problems that they think are happening or what's happening with their kids, that it's escalated way beyond what they even could imagine. And I continually see parents who they thought one thing was happening, and it was a completely different, higher level of a problem.
Right. My heart just hurts for what is happening to our youth and how parents are paralyzed by this.
Absolutely.
Why do you think? I mean, I understand. I guess I understand why the youth, the drug culture is so out of control. But why do you think that parents are so afraid to get involved in this, to do something?
Well, then they have to deal with it, and they know that. Really, and people have a lot of things that are going on, and I think the greatest hope is that things aren't as bad as they look, and that it's something their kids are going to outgrow, and it's just not that.
So in other words, they just hope it's just a phase.
Yes.
We're just going through a high school phase.
Yeah, just something they're going through and they're going to grow out of, and they might be smoking a little pot or drinking a little or something like that. But there's an epidemic with the opiates these days.
Yeah, you and I were talking the other day on the phone about the most prevalent drugs used by teens today, and it's not Budweiser and pot anymore. It's
absolutely,
it's black tar heroin, and it's incredible to me that so few people know what black tar heroin even is.
Well, and black tar heroin, it has the sound to it. When you think of black tar heroin, you think of a drug addict in an alley downtown in a bad place. There's this whole vision of what it looks like, somebody who would use that.
Right.
When actually, what I'm seeing, it's the next door neighbor that looks like she should be a cheerleader, and the high school prom king. It's kind of like what we were talking about the other day, is that the stigma on it, and I just had a mom tell me the same thing yesterday, that the kids were like, well, it was no big deal, and it's kind of like a generation or two ago, you would have at the parties that the kids would go to at high school, they'd be drinking around the keg, and there might be a group that were over smoking pot in the corner.
Right.
Well, that group now has changed to a group that is over smoking heroin in the corner.
Is this because we've because it's so easy to get marijuana today, so it's not a big deal? How did this happen?
No, I don't think so. I think that it just there's a lot more ease on, and where I'm seeing it happen for the most part. And I just was talking to some kids last night that had come in, and I can tell the story is that they start fooling around with some pills, and they'll get some Vicodin or OxyContin or something like that, and they're just so they're drinking and taking a couple of pills, and they think they're having fun, and all of a sudden they've done it for a little while, and then they realize they're addicted, and they are and they're getting sick and going through withdrawals. And I was literally talking with a couple last night that were going, we didn't even know this had happened. And what happens is that it gets very difficult for them to continue to get these pills, or it's very expensive for them to get them.
Right.
And the withdrawals, and it can catch them really quick. It's not something that they have to do for a year. They could be doing it for a week. and get hooked on the opiates. And
Right.
the withdrawal symptoms are horrific. So what happens is that somebody in that culture, somebody says, well, you can just smoke smoke some heroin, and you won't get sick, and it's cheaper and it's easier to get. So all of a sudden you turn from having a kid who was smoking pot to a kid who was taking pills to a heroin addict. And
Wow!
and they're always only going to do it once.
Right. I'm just going to try it.
Yeah, and then what happens is so they get used to and addicted to smoking the heroin, and sooner or later somebody says, if you shoot it, it'll last longer and it's cheaper and you'll get it's a bigger high or something like that, and then they're just going to try that once. And all of those and what happens is from this little cheerleader to somebody who actually is a dope fiend in a back alley in a bad neighborhood doing horrible things. That it's always just I'm just going to try this once.
Greg, how prevalent is this in our high schools today?
Huge.
It's huge.
It was. It is. I went to a PTA meeting at a high school, and they were talking about, there was this whole big controversy about some kids were caught with some pot brownies and what the school needs to do and bring the dogs in, and all these parents pointing fingers at each other. And I was watching all of this go on, and I finally couldn't keep quiet any longer, and I said, you guys are fighting over pot brownies when your kids are smoking heroin in the parking lot of the school.
I'll bet that sent a hush across the room.
Well, it was like, it did, and it was kind of like the demeanor. Some of the parents who realized it were wanting to know what they could do.
Right.
And once I opened the floodgates to talk about this, because it is, I keep seeing these kids again and again and again, and the parents going, we had no idea. And to me, nowadays, with drug testing being so accessible and inexpensive.
Yeah, I was just going to ask you whether parents should drug test.
Absolutely. To me, it's irresponsible not to. And it is. And I know a lot of people go, oh, these kids need rights and they need this and that. Well, I'll tell you, when they're sitting on my couch and they find out their kid has been using heroin for a year, and there's all of this money and insurance and time and treatment and all those things, I've yet to meet a parent who didn't wish that they would have drug tested a year ago,
right,
and kept an eye on what was going on. So when they see that something has entered in that has that really could define what direction somebody is going in life, they can take action. They can become proactive.
Well, when someone gets to you, life is really changing really fast. Right?
Yeah, or it has already changed.
And the family dynamic is never really going to be the same again. Greg, I got to take a quick break. Stay with us. You're listening to the Cindy Laverty Show. I'll be right back.